So we're here to talk through this 2021 themed TomTom puzzle that I wrote, and it has all the adjacent clues being 20 and then 2021 in these rows. It's got a few different ways, if you've not played with the pen-paw puzzle tools before, to go through and interact or enter numbers. You can put in big digits with Sudoku mode, normal, corner sort of options, or center if you have sort of options. My preferred mode for this style, just so I can add and subtract, and given that these clues are in the top, is to actually have medium-sized numbers. And I'll use that because I can put multiple numbers together, but eventually clean them up. The first things that you may see in this puzzle, which is using the digits 1 through 7, is that in these cells that are two units for the cage, a 20 and 2 cells must absolutely be a product, which is 4 and 5, and a 21 and 2 cells must also be a product, which is 3 and 7. It's also the case that the corner groups that are 3 units tall have that same constraint. The highest sum the 3 cells can have in a puzzle like this in a single space is 7 plus 6 plus 5, which is 18. That means that this is a product. 21 similarly, 7 plus 6 plus 5, 18 is too small, so this is 1, 3, and 7 as a product. But you can get to a space having marked those in, whereas we get to the bottom of the grid, it doesn't look very much like this 20 in the corner is a product, that if this were a 5, to get the product multiple in, we still need to have a product of 4 that's coming from, I guess, a 2 somewhere, but some other number that's also going to add in. This is a case where a bent cage can get to a larger sum, and a sum by repeating digits. The very largest sum we can do is going to have a 7 in this column, and it's going to have another 7 in this column, and a 6. 7 plus 6 is 13, plus another 7 is 20. And it does actually work out to finish out that space, at least behind a 2 and 3 in this 20 large group, which is starting as a sum for sure. 2 and 3 can't multiply into 20 because the 3 isn't a factor of 20. And it's got a sum of 5, so there are 15 left over in this column. The 7 below is going to mean that we can only have 6 and 4 and 5 remaining, and those add up to 15, so 15 and 5 is 20. For sure, that column is actually specified this way. And this is one of the things to do to get started in the puzzles, actually break apart this 20 group. The other is really to think about this 21 that's horizontal, and it can't be a sum. It can't be a product, because 1 and 3 and 7 are the only numbers can be in a product with a 21. Anything that has a factor of 2 or 5 is no good. So it's going to be a sum, and the largest sum in 4 cells is 22. 7 plus 6 plus 5 plus 4 is 22. This is one off of that largest sum, and so it's absolutely 7 plus 6 plus 5 plus 3. I'll just type that in at the start of the puzzle. But now that we've actually got a lot of things in the grid, it is the case for this first cell, for instance, that the only place the 3 can go is in that space. The 7, the 6, and 5 are already used in that column wherever they go. And so 5, 6, 7 are in these remaining cells. We'll sort of mark those in. The 5 and 6 aren't as key, but that a 3 is in this large sum, and a 7 is in this large sum, leaves behind just a 1 for this upper rightmost cell, which says that a 3, 7, 3, 7 is what's in these other cells. The remaining cells in the top row are 2 and 4. If we just step back, like erase what we had and step back, and the only one that can go in this corner where it was out of 1, 4, 5 is the 4, and a 2 comes over here to the 20. And we now have a case where a 2 and a 20 could be a product, but really doesn't look any more like a sum. It's too small. It needs 18 and 2 cells, and so it needs to have a product of 10 in the remaining cells. 2 and 5 is the only product of 10 we've got, which is going to put 5 in the second row, which is going to come over to the left and force out the options in these cells. Just tracking down where the 5s can go. The 5 is now forced in this 20 large cage in the second column to be in the fourth cell. We've got all those digits well placed now, and can come back to other parts of the grid and thinking through where the next points of progress will be. One of those places looks to be this last large cage on the right, and it comes from, again, seeing we can't have this 21 and 4 cells be a product. The 3s and 7s are already in those 2 columns, so it's got to be a sum. And there are sort of the three large digits left in this space, and then there's also one particularly small digit, a 2 in this space. And so one of the things to see is when you've got a min or a max option is what does the min or max actually look like? And in this TomTom, a lot of the steps come back to considering the max being, take all the big numbers that remain, 4, 5, 6 are those big numbers, they add up to 15. 15 still needs 6 left over, and 6 is the largest value that can be placed in that cell in the 6th column. And so it's absolutely the case that this is a max sum of what's left over in the grid, and the 2 has to be avoiding this max sum and where it goes. There's a 6 already here in the 5th row and a 6 in the 7th row, so the actual way the max sum looks is with the 6s where I've now placed them, 4 of 5 options in the remaining cells. The 2 placed in the right side of this row now means that the 3 is in the 4th spot, the 2 is in the next spot down. Thinking to the 1 column over, that also now gives this limitation where we've got 2 and 1 placed in this way, leaving behind just 3 and 7 in these cells. 3 and 7 are filling into this large group of 20 total, and they're taking up 10 of that group. So we're not going to have a lot of values left that can fit into that space if the total sum of the remaining numbers is just 10. And another thing we can start to do, let's just propagate back over. When this 3 was placed, we actually know these values for sure. We get to where we've got, let's see if we can see it. We've got a case where we're going to have a 7 in one of these 2 cells and a 7 in one of these 2 cells in the 2nd and 5th rows. And those will eliminate the option for a 7 in the top. And so a 7 must be in this topmost space. We're going to keep thinking about this column having just made progress in it. A 3 has to be somewhere in the column, but it can't be in the 3rd or 4th rows because the 3s are already in them, so it's right here. And that now gives us a 1, 6, 1, 6 left over, and so that adds up to 7. 7 plus 10 gives us just 3 more to fill in, which is 2 and 1. And with the 2 in the grid already in the 4th row, the only option is the one I just put in for the space. And so these will add up to a total of 20 now for that cage. Putting the 4 in the cell leaves behind just one option in the row above it for a 4. That 4, 6 is going to complete this space. Notation is a little sloppy up top here, but where the 7 went into one of these cells, the other value in those cells is going to be a 4. Notice that the 21 is now a perfect sum, and how that goes. This 20 looks great as well. We've got to resolve these options at the top that are 5 versus 6. The 5 is on the left and the 6 is on the right based on the 6 we just placed in the 3rd row, 3rd column. We've got 1, 2 in the bottom of this 3rd column, which goes like so. We've got 3, 5 in the bottom of this 4th column, which has to go as I just wrote in. That placement will start to force the remainder of the 4, 5, 4, 5 pairs. Put in this 4 and put in this 1, and we finish this TomTom puzzle. So it had a fair amount of min-max logic. This is indeed the way I was setting it. I was actually thinking a 21 sum in 4 is a good max sum. It's 1 away from a 22, which is a literal max in a 4-unit straight space. But 7, 6, 5, 3 gave a place where having this 20 down and this 21 down would give a start with a single digit 2 that's not in any of those groups. And putting some other seeds like the 7, 6 box and the 6, 5, 6, 4 box as a maximum that came from there, or how the whole rest of the puzzle just came together. So if the middle big regions didn't seem to have a lot of value till the very end, some of that was that literally they were set at the very end of the puzzle and didn't have those options. So hopefully this gave you a little bit of a mind into the constructor's eye and also how to think through these challenging TomToms and also how to use some of the pen pilot tools to enter through puzzle and get to the solution. We'll see you again soon.